There is a sound that never stops. It begins the moment you wake and continues until sleep finally claims you. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it roars, but it never truly ceases. This sound is not coming from the world around you. It emerges from within, a constant stream of thoughts, judgments, worries, plans, and stories that your mind tells itself about who you are and what your life means. Most people live their entire lives never questioning this inner soundtrack. They assume it is simply part of being human, like breathing or the beating of the heart. But unlike these vital functions, the noise of the mind serves no biological purpose. In fact, it often works against your well-being, creating stress, anxiety, and a sense of separation from the very peace you seek. Take a moment right now to listen. Can you hear it? The mental chatter that evaluates these very words as you receive them. The voice that perhaps says, yes, I know this, or this sounds interesting, or I wonder where this is going. That voice is not you, it is simply noise, learned patterns of thought that have become so habitual you mistake them for your identity. The ancient wisdom traditions understood something that modern neuroscience is only beginning to rediscover. The thinking mind, while useful as a tool, was never meant to be the master of your inner life. When you allow this mental noise to dominate your awareness, you lose access to something far more profound, the voice of your soul, which speaks only in silence. Your soul does not communicate through words or concepts. It speaks through intuition, through sudden knowing, through the felt sense of rightness that emerges when you are aligned with your deepest truth. But this communication requires a quality of inner stillness that most people have forgotten how to access. The mind, with its endless commentary, drowns out the subtle whisper of soul wisdom like a radio turned up too loud. This is why so many people feel lost, even when their lives appear successful from the outside. They have learned to navigate the world through thinking, but they have lost touch with the deeper intelligence that knows without thinking, that understands without analyzing, that guides without forcing. This intelligence is not separate from you. It is your most essential nature. But to hear it, you must first learn to quiet the noise. The tragedy is not that this noise exists. Thoughts themselves are natural phenomena, like clouds passing through the sky of consciousness. The tragedy is that we have been conditioned to believe we are the clouds rather than the sky itself. We identify so completely with our thoughts that we forget the vast open awareness in which all thoughts arise and dissolve. The thinking mind operates like a sophisticated survival mechanism, constantly scanning for problems to solve, threats to avoid, and desires to fulfill. This function served our ancestors well when physical survival was the primary concern. But in the modern world, this same mechanism has become overactive, creating problems where none exist, and generating anxiety about futures that may never come to pass. It simply is like the sun that continues to shine, whether or not the clouds allow its light to reach the earth. When you clear away the clouds of mental confusion, you discover that this light has been illuminating your life all along. Trust the whispers of your deepest knowing, even when they contradict the opinions of others or the expectations of society. Your soul knows your unique path and purpose in ways that the analytical mind cannot comprehend. When you learn to follow this inner guidance, your life begins to unfold with a grace and synchronicity that feels miraculous to the limited perspective of the ego. This voice speaks to you now, in this very moment. It is the awareness that is aware of these words, the presence that is present to this experience, the love that recognizes itself in all beings. You are not separate from this voice. You are this voice, expressing itself through the beautiful instrument of your individual consciousness. The search for meaning, for purpose, for God, for truth, for love has been a search for yourself, for the infinite awareness that you have always been but temporarily forgot. Now, in this moment of recognition, the search can end and the celebration can begin. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are spiritual essence having a human experience. When you remember this truth and live from it, every moment becomes sacred, every breath becomes prayer, every action becomes love in motion. The silence you have learned to access is not separate from the world of form. It is the very source from which all forms arise. When you embody this silence while fully engaging with life, you become a bridge between the infinite and the particular, between the eternal and the temporal, between the soul and the world. This is your deepest purpose, to be conscious, to be present, to be love itself, walking in human form. No. T because you have to, but because this is what you are, not as an obligation, but as an expression of your innermost joy. The voice of your soul has always been calling you home to yourself. Now you know how to listen. Now you remember who you are. The journey into silence has revealed the sound of eternity singing through your very existence. This song has no beginning and no end. It is the music of consciousness itself, playing through the instrument of your awakened heart. Rest here in this knowing. Let this truth permeate every cell of your being. You are home. Your mind believes its job is to keep you safe, but its definition of safety is limited to the known, the predictable, the controllable. It fears uncertainty because uncertainty feels dangerous, so it creates elaborate stories about who you are, what you need, and how the world works, building walls of concepts and beliefs that become a prison of perceived limitation. This mental prison is not made of steel and concrete, it is made of identification. You believe you are your thoughts, your emotions, your history, your roles, your achievements, and your failures. You carry an image of yourself that was constructed over years of experience and conditioning, and you defend this image as if your very existence depends upon it. But what if everything you think you know about yourself is simply a collection of learned responses? What if the person you believe yourself to be is actually just a character in a story that your mind has been telling for so long that you have forgotten it is fiction? Consider this. You have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go, but something remains constant. The awareness that observes these thoughts. You have emotions, but you are not your emotions. Emotions arise and pass away like weather systems, but the sky of your being remains unchanged. You have a body, but you are not your body. The body ages and changes, but the essence of what you are is timeless. This recognition is not a philosophical concept to be understood intellectually. It is a direct experience waiting to be discovered. When you begin to disidentify from the contents of your mind and reconnect with the awareness itself, you step out of the prison of the false self and into the freedom of your true nature. The false self, this collection of thoughts, memories, and identifications, is not evil or wrong. It is simply incomplete. It represents only the surface, a level of your being, like waves on the ocean mistaking themselves for the entire sea. The waves are real, but they are not separate from the ocean. Similarly, your thoughts and emotions are real movements within consciousness, but they are not separate from the consciousness in which they appear. This deeper consciousness, this ocean of being, is what the mystics call the soul. It is not a thing or an entity, but rather the very capacity for experience itself. It is the silent witness that observes all phenomena without being disturbed by any of them. It is the space in which all of life unfolds, yet remains forever untouched by the drama of existence. When you remember yourself as this witnessing awareness rather than the objects of awareness, something extraordinary happens. The constant noise of mental chatter begins to subside, not through force or suppression, but through a natural settling that occurs when you stop energizing thoughts with your identification. In this settling, a profound silence emerges, not the absence of sound, but the presence of pure being. This silence is not empty. It is full of infinite potential. It is the womb of creation itself, the field from which all possibilities arise. When you learn to rest in this silence, you discover that it has been speaking to you all along, offering guidance that is far more reliable than the anxious calculations of the thinking mind. This is the beginning of a different way of being in the world, not driven by the compulsive need to think your way through life, but guided by an intelligence that emerges from the depths of your being. This intelligence does not shout, it whispers, it does not demand, it suggests, it does not force, it flows. But to hear its subtle voice, you must first learn to quiet the noise within. The silence you discover when the mind grows quiet is not merely the absence of noise, it is a doorway into what quantum physics calls the field of infinite possibilities. This field exists beyond the material world of objects and forms, in a realm where the fundamental building blocks of reality exist not as particles, but as waves of pure potential waiting to collapse into experience. Every thought you think, every intention you hold, every choice you make sends ripples through this quantum field. But most of these ripples are chaotic and contradictory because they emerge from the conflicted noise of the thinking mind. One moment you want something, the next moment you doubt it. One moment you feel confident, the next you feel afraid. These mixed signals create interference patterns in the field, like radio static that prevents clear transmission. When you access the silence beneath thoughts, something remarkable occurs. Your consciousness begins to function at a more coherent frequency. Instead of broadcasting the scattered noise of mental chatter, you begin to transmit from a place of unified awareness. This coherence allows your intentions to move through the quantum field with clarity and power, organizing possibilities around your deepest truth rather than your surface fears. The ancient Ved, ICC, has understood this principle long before modern physics discovered the observer effect, the recognition that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining what becomes real. They knew that the quality of your awareness directly influences the quality of your experience. When your awareness is fragmented by mental noise, your life reflects that fragmentation. When your awareness becomes still and unified, your life begins to reflect that wholeness. This is not mystical wishful thinking. It is the practical application of quantum principles to human consciousness. Just as a laser beam becomes powerful because all its photons are moving in the same direction, your intentions become powerful when they emerge from the coherent field of silence rather than the scattered field of mental noise. In this silence, you discover that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are not a victim of random circumstances struggling to survive in a hostile world. You are an expression of the same intelligence that organizes galaxies and guides the migration of birds. When you align with this intelligence through silence, your life begins to unfold with a natural grace that the thinking mind could never orchestrate. Take 4 slow conscious breaths right now. With each exhale, allow your awareness to settle deeper into the present moment. Notice how even this simple practice begins to create space between your thoughts. In this space, the quantum field becomes accessible not as a concept but as a living reality. The field responds not to your words or even your thoughts, but to the quality of your being. When you rest in silence, you emanate a frequency of peace that attracts peaceful circumstances. When you embody love, you magnetize loving relationships. When you align with abundance consciousness, you discover opportunities that were always present but previously invisible to the anxious mind. This is why the great spiritual traditions have always emphasized practices that cultivate inner silence, meditation, prayer, contemplation, and mindful presence. These are not religious rituals, but practical technologies for accessing the creative power of consciousness itself. They are methods for tuning your inner radio to the frequency of your soul, where guidance flows naturally and effortlessly. Modern neuroscience has validated what the mystics have always known. Silence is medicine for both mind and body. When you regularly access states of deep stillness, your nervous system undergoes profound changes that ripple through every cell of your being. The constant chatter of the thinking mind activates what researchers call the sympathetic nervous system, your body's stress response. This system was designed for short-term survival situations, flooding your bloodstream with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to prepare you for fight or flight. But when mental noise keeps this system chronically activated, it becomes a source of illness rather than protection. Chronic stress suppresses immune function, increases inflammation, disrupts sleep, impairs digestion, and accelerates aging at the cellular level. The body, trapped in a perpetual state of emergency, cannot access its natural healing mechanisms. This is why so many modern ailments, from anxiety and depression to autoimmune disorders and heart disease, are intimately connected to the quality of your inner life. When you learn to access authentic silence, the parasympathetic nervous system naturally activates. This is your body's rest and repair mode, where true healing occurs. Heart rate variability improves, blood pressure decreases, stress hormones decline, and anti-inflammatory processes increase. Your immune system strengthens, your sleep deepens, and your digestive system functions optimally. But the healing power of silence goes beyond these physiological benefits. In the depths of stillness, you access what researchers are beginning to recognize as the body's innate intelligence, an organizing principle that knows how to heal without conscious intervention. This intelligence operates through what scientists call epigenetic mechanisms, literally changing which genes are expressed in response to your state of consciousness. Studies have shown that regular meditation practice can activate genes associated with longevity while suppressing genes linked to inflammation and stress-related illness. Your thoughts and emotions are not separate from your biology. They are constantly reshaping your body at the molecular level. When you change the quality of your inner environment through silence, you change the quality of your physical health. Notice right now where you might be holding tension in your body. Perhaps your shoulders are raised, your jaw is clenched, or your breath is shallow. These physical patterns mirror the patterns of your mind. As you allow your awareness to rest in this moment, feel how the body naturally begins to soften and release. This is not something you do. It is something that happens when you stop interfering with your body's natural wisdom. The healing that emerges from silence is not limited to your individual system. When you embody peace, you become a healing presence for others. Your nervous system communicates with other nervous systems through subtle energetic signals that science is just beginning to understand. A calm person naturally calms others, just as an anxious person can trigger anxiety in those around them. This is why spending time with truly peaceful people feels so nourishing, while being around chronically agitated people feels draining. You are constantly broadcasting your inner state through electromagnetic fields generated by your heart and brain. When you cultivate inner silence, you become a source of healing energy in your family, community, and world. The silence that heals is not the absence of life, but the presence of life in its purest form. It is the space in which your body remembers its original blueprint of wholeness and begins to reorganize itself around that pattern of perfection. As you deepen into the practice of inner stillness, a profound recognition begins to dawn. You are not the one who is trying to become silent. You are the silence itself, temporarily identified with the noise, the very awareness that observes the coming and going of thoughts, emotions, and sensations, is itself unchanging and eternally at peace. This witnessing awareness is not something you acquire through practice. It is what you already are beneath all the layers of identification and conditioning. The mystics called it the eternal witness, the unchanging observer, the pure self that remains constant through every experience of your life. Consider your earliest childhood memory. The details may be hazy, the emotions distant, but something was present then that is present now. The awareness that witnessed that experience. Consider a powerful moment from your adolescence, a significant event from your adult life. The circumstances differ, your body has changed, your beliefs and preferences have evolved, but the witness of all these experiences remains the same. This witnessing awareness is not personal in the way you usually understand yourself. It has no preferences, no agenda, no story about who you are or what you need. It simply observes whatever arises with perfect equanimity, like a mirror that reflects all images without being changed by any of them. When you begin to recognize yourself as this witness rather than the objects being witnessed, everything changes. The dramas of your personal life continue to unfold, but they no longer disturb your essential peace. Thoughts come and go, emotions rise and fall, circumstances shift and change, but you remain anchored in the unchanging awareness that observes it all. This is not a state of detachment or indifference. The witness is infinitely compassionate because it is not threatened by any experience. It can hold space for joy and sorrow, success and failure, love and loss with equal grace because it knows that all experiences are temporary movements within eternal awareness. From this perspective, even your problems begin to serve a deeper purpose. They become opportunities for the witness to recognize its own unshakable nature. Each challenge that fails to disturb your essential peace deepens your confidence in what you truly are. Each storm that passes through the sky of your awareness proves once again that you are the sky, not the weather. Rest for a moment in this recognition. Allow your attention to shift from whatever you were thinking about to the awareness that was aware of the thinking. This shift is subtle but profound, like stepping back from a movie screen to remember that you are the one watching the movie. The story continues, but you are no longer lost in it. This witnessing awareness is your true identity, your deepest nature, your soul. It requires no improvement because it is already perfect. It needs no healing because it has never been broken. It seeks no fulfillment because it is already complete. When you remember yourself as this eternal witness, you find the peace you have been seeking your entire life. When you rest in the witness, the unchanging awareness that observes all experience, your relationship with desire undergoes a profound transformation. The desperate wanting that characterizes so much of human experience begins to dissolve, replaced by a different kind of intention altogether. This new intention does not arise from lack or fear, but from the fullness of being itself. The mind creates desires as attempts to fill an imagined emptiness. It believes that happiness lies in the future acquisition of something currently missing, a relationship, an achievement, a material object, a different circumstance. These desires carry within them the vibration of incompleteness, and this vibration attracts experiences that confirm the very lack they seek to remedy. But when you recognize yourself as the eternal witness, you discover that you are already whole. From this wholeness, desires transform into preferences that arise naturally from your authentic nature. These preferences do not carry the desperate energy of need. They emerge as gentle inclinations toward experiences that express your deepest truth. This shift from need-based wanting to wholeness-based intention creates a completely different relationship with manifestation. Instead of trying to use the universe to fill your emptiness, you allow the universe to express itself through your fullness. You become a conduit for creation rather than a beggar seeking fulfillment. In the silence of pure awareness, intentions form like seeds crystallizing in the fertile darkness of possibility. These intentions carry the power of coherence because they are not conflicted by the mind's doubts and fears. They move through the quantum field with the clarity of laser light, organizing circumstances with an effortless precision that amazes the thinking mind. Take 6 conscious breaths, allowing each exhale to deepen your connection to the stillness within. In this stillness, notice if there is some intention naturally present, not something you should want, but something that wants to emerge through you. Feel the difference between this natural arising and the effortful desires of the mind. The universe is not something separate from you that you must convince to give you what you want. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself through the particular focal point of your awareness. When you align with this truth, your intentions become the universe's intentions, and fulfillment occurs not through struggle, but through surrender to what wants to emerge. This surrender is not passive resignation, but active receptivity, the art of allowing your deepest wisdom to guide your choices without interference from the anxious mind. It is the difference between swimming against the current and learning to flow with the river of life itself. The sacred technology of inner peace is not a single practice, but a way of being that encompasses every moment of your existence. It begins with the simple recognition that peace is not something you achieve, it is something you uncover by removing the obstacles that hide your natural state of tranquility. The primary obstacle is the belief that peace depends on external circumstances. This belief keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of trying to control your environment rather than discovering the peace that exists independent of all conditions. True peace is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of an unshakable center that remains calm regardless of what is happening around you. Breath is perhaps the most immediate gateway to this center. Unlike thoughts, which seem to arise automatically, breath exists at the intersection of voluntary and involuntary action. You can consciously direct your breathing, yet breathing continues even when you are not paying attention. This makes breath a perfect bridge between the conscious and unconscious aspects of your being. When you breathe consciously, you anchor your awareness in the present moment, the only place where peace can be found. The mind's suffering always involves either reliving the past or rehearsing the future. But breath only happens now, and when you follow the breath, you discover the profound stillness that exists in the eternal present. Practice breathing with complete attention for just a few moments. Notice the pause between the inhale and exhale, the natural rest point where the body knows exactly when to begin the next breath. In this pause, you can taste the infinite silence from which all breathing arises and to which it returns. Gratitude is another doorway to peace because it shifts your attention from what is missing to what is already present. But genuine gratitude is not a mental exercise in positive thinking. It is a felt sense of appreciation that emerges when you truly see the miraculous nature of ordinary existence. The fact that you are conscious, that you can experience beauty, that love moves through your heart, that breath sustains your life moment by moment. These are not mundane occurrences, but extraordinary miracles happening continuously. When you recognize this, gratitude becomes not something you practice, but something you are. Mindful presence throughout daily activities transforms every moment into a meditation. Whether you are washing dishes, walking, or having a conversation, you can practice bringing your full attention to what is happening right now. This simple shift from distracted thinking to present moment awareness gradually rewires your nervous system to default to peace rather than anxiety. Write down 3 things you genuinely appreciate about your life right now. Notice how the simple act of acknowledging what is working shifts your inner state. This is not about denying problems, but about recognizing that peace exists alongside all circumstances when you know how to access it. The most profound technology of peace is the practice of inner inquiry, questioning the thoughts and beliefs that disturb your natural tranquility. When you feel upset, instead of immediately trying to change your external situation, pause and ask, what am I believing right now that is causing this suffering? Often you will discover that your distress comes not from what is happening, but from your interpretation of what is happening. This inquiry is not intellectual analysis, but a gentle investigation that leads you back to the truth of what you are. Every upset is an invitation to remember your true nature as the peaceful awareness that cannot be disturbed by any circumstance. As you deepen your understanding of yourself as pure awareness, daily life becomes an expression of this recognition rather than a distraction from it. You no longer need to escape to meditation cushions or retreat centers to find peace. You carry that peace with you into every interaction, every challenge, every moment of your existence. Living as pure awareness does not mean becoming passive or disengaged from life. Instead, it means engaging more fully and authentically because your actions arise from wisdom rather than reactivity. You respond to situations from a place of clarity rather than reacting from patterns of conditioning. Your relationships transform because you stop trying to use other people to validate your identity or fill your emotional needs. Instead, you meet others from your wholeness, offering presence rather than seeking something in return. This shift creates space for genuine intimacy and connection to flourish naturally. Work becomes a form of service rather than a means of survival or achievement. Whether you are a teacher, artist, business person, or parent, you bring the quality of your being to whatever you do. The activity itself becomes secondary to the consciousness you bring to it. Even challenges and difficulties take on a different meaning when you know yourself as awareness itself. Instead of seeing problems as evidence that something is wrong with your life, you recognize them as opportunities for consciousness to know itself more deeply. Each difficulty that fails to disturb your essential peace strengthens your confidence in what you truly are. This does not mean you become indifferent to outcomes or cease caring about your life circumstances. Care arises naturally from love, but it is no longer attached to specific results. You do your best in every situation while remaining open to whatever unfolds, trusting that life knows how to orchestrate itself through your sincere participation. Feel into this possibility right now. What would it be like to move through your day, knowing that you are the unchanging awareness in which all experiences arise? How would you speak differently, choose differently, love differently from this recognition? Living as pure awareness is not a future goal, but a present possibility. It is available in this moment and every moment because it is what you already are beneath all the layers of identification and conditioning. The practice is simply remembering again and again until this remembering becomes your natural state. In the deepest chambers of your being, beneath the noise of thinking, and beneath even the silence that follows, there is a voice that has been speaking to you since before your birth and will continue after your death. This is not a voice that uses words or sounds. It is the voice of existence itself, communicating through the very fact of your being. This eternal voice speaks through intuition, through the sudden knowing that arises without explanation. It speaks through synchronicity, through the meaningful coincidences that reveal the hidden order beneath apparent chaos. It speaks through love, through the inexplicable feeling of connection that dissolves all sense of separation. It speaks through beauty, through the moments when you are stopped in your tracks by the sheer miracle of existence. Most people spend their lives listening for this voice in external sources, in teachers, books, religions, relationships, or achievements. But the voice they seek speaks only from within, in the sanctuary of their own being. No external authority can give you what you already possess. No teacher can awaken what is not already awake within you. The journey of spiritual awakening is not about acquiring something new, but about removing everything that obscures what has always been present. You are not becoming enlightened. You are recognizing the enlightenment that is your birthright as consciousness itself. Your soul's voice does not compete with the noise of the mind. It does not argue or persuade or demand attention.